It's day 2 of the Steam Next Fest, and I'm back with a review for a game that is designed to scare the living daylights out of you and your friends. Repo, Lethal Company, even Phasmophobia. You'll forget all about those once you set your sights on Out of the Shadows. Actually, you'll probably keep them all installed if I'm being serious. Out of the Shadows bills itself as a cooperative horror adventure that requires exploration, stealth, and communication. In the demo level, you're tasked with breaking and entering an old family mansion where a series of strange, demonic events took place. Like games like Phasmophobia or A Day Out, it seems like you're part of an organization that goes out hunting for these strange occurrences, but there's not much given in the current demo about that, besides the fact that you start in a little base that you can kind of explore as you wait for your friends to join. One thing that I do want to point out is that the game has that character asset pack, okay? I can never find it when I go looking for it on the Unity store, but a game dev I follow once tweeted about how it was like the Comic Sans of indie games, and it's kind of true. Don't get me wrong, while there are good games that use this asset pack, most of the time, they're not that great. Can you hear that bird chirping? I can hear it. Great. Burying the lead here, but Out of the Shadows is kind of in the middle of that range. If you want to play, once you load in, you can host or join a server. The servers are handled by invite codes, kind of like Among Us, so it's really easy to just send that code to your friends and they can hop on. Now is usually when a YouTuber would say something like, but I don't have any friends, like some sort of loser, but I won't say that. Do you know why? Because I got my nearest and dearest friend, Tim, to come help me out. That's right. Tim knows what's most important in life. Loving on his doting wife? Pfft. Helping his newborn daughter? No. Gaming. That's what's most important. Gonna get in trouble for that. One thing that I noticed almost right away once Tim joined in is the characters are like really over animated. I feel like I'm the only person that ended up playing Final Fantasy XIV before the re-release, but they had the same sort of animations going on where no matter what you did, your character always had like a very specific animation for it. Like if you do a little circle with WASD, the hip joints of your characters are like really overly detailed and animated. It's a very intricate pivot animation. It's cool, but I also think it's a little bit much because I think it limits the movement that you can make with your character. Also, like if you thought Phasmophobia was slow, man, just be prepared for how slow your character moves in this game. It is legitimately painful. You do have a sprint, right? But your stamina is really, really limited, so you have to use it pretty sparingly. There's also a crouch, and I'm not actually sure if that helps with stealth or not. And there's no jump because it would actually make one of the puzzles completely useless. Oh, and another small note, there's no character customization yet. You don't even choose the model that you load into the map with. In fact, when Tim loaded in, he was like this adventurer type lady. And then when we went into the actual new game, he was like a jock type guy. Why am I looking down here? That's not good. Also, the only person that needs to ready up is the host, it seems like. I pressed R and immediately Tim and I loaded into the server without him pressing anything. One thing that I cannot stress enough is that the puzzles in this part of the game are actually pretty interesting and pretty fun. A game that I have to review that's still on the back burner is Blueprints, which has a lot of really cool, fun puzzles. And the first few in Out of the Shadows actually reminded me of a few of those. Getting past the first puzzle did actually require reading from like this giant block of text, right? But once you read it, you pretty much knew exactly what you had to do. And it also gives you like a little bit of background on what's going on in this mansion. It's demonic summoning, probably. Ooh, a sigil drawn on the ground. I bet that won't cause any issues. So your inventory is actually limited to 3 spaces, and even though the character models do show that they're wearing the flashlight on their head, once you switch to something else in your inventory, that flashlight gets turned off. As soon as you solve the first couple of puzzles, you answer a very ominous phone call and you end up trapped in the basement of a haunted mansion. Always a fun time. So from there, you need to find a way out, which leads into the kitchen and to another kind of fun puzzle. I should point out that Tim and I here have struggled with this, and it's probably because we're both very dumb. I am kind of skipping over the kitchen because the only thing that's in there is literally just the solution to this puzzle. There's nothing else to do in there. The next part of the game seems to be the main idea, where you're stuck in a location with an entity that's hunting you down. As you explore, you're presented with different puzzles to solve, which lead to new items, new discoveries, new locations, new puzzles, that sort of thing. Sometimes these puzzles are actually used to try and free your friends from when they've been captured, or you have to free yourself. Now, in games like this, there's usually a danger associated with being spotted by the entity in that location, right? Let's use Phasmophobia and Lethal Company as 2 examples. So in Phasmophobia, you're never really aware of where the spirit is. You have to find the location they're haunting, use the tools available to figure out what you're dealing with, and then leave. If the spirit does become angry, it will attempt to find and kill a player, which reduces the effectiveness of your team. If everyone gets killed, the round ends, and when I last played Phasmophobia, I'm pretty sure you lost all of the items you brought with you. Lethal Company is the same way. You need everyone, for the most part, to help bring back loot to sell. Getting caught or killed by one of the many things in a facility reduces the effectiveness of your team and the chance you have of selling loot and reaching the ever-growing quota. So what does Out of the Shadows do with this sort of concept? You get locked in a room. It's a room, and it is locked, but like, it's just a room. I don't know, man. From there, you can solve a puzzle to escape, or if you're playing with friends, they can solve a much easier puzzle on the outside to help you escape. It seems like there are a few defenses against the Bagman. I guess that's what we're going to end up calling him. But Tim and I weren't really able to use them properly. When I booted up the demo and did a quick play, it seems like pouring oil on the ground stuns him and allows you to get away. But when I was playing with Tim, it seemed like the second he spotted a player, he was like locked in, man. No matter what we tried to do, I tried to hide, he would pull me out of a closet. If you ran away and hid in a corner, he'd always find you. It seems like right now in the demo, his logic is spot a player, get them. But then that also brings me to another weird thing that happened when I first got grabbed. The Bagman just let me go. Like, I don't know why. Tim was clicking his flashlight on and off, and that apparently got the Bagman to let me go, but when it happened to Tim, I just got ignored. I'm not sure if that was like a bug or something like that. Now, I'm not really talking about the puzzles a whole lot, but there is one that I thought was really, really cool. My favorite required the UV flashlight that you can find in the level. Essentially, the way it works is once you find the flashlight and you turn it on, you see a bunch of markings all over the place. But if you pay attention, you'll notice footprints on the ground that only show up with the UV flashlight. If you follow those footsteps all the way across the mansion, you'll find the solution to another puzzle. It was a neat little detail, but it was something that I really liked, that you had to actually explore and put yourself in danger to go find the solution to this puzzle. That's pretty much it, though. Once you solve the light puzzle that I'm talking about, the only thing to do is to get a key and then leave. There is a little bit of flavor text here that we did test, but before I get into what the flavor text said and what we tested, I just need to point out that the toilet here is like a death sentence to players. Somehow, Tim got stuck behind a toilet. I don't know how. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was inspecting the plumbing to see if he could figure out where the pipes went. I just know he got stuck. We tried everything we could do without risking myself also getting stuck. But because there's no jump button, he couldn't try to jump out of this tricky little corner. In the end, I had to kick him from the lobby and re-invite him, which instead of putting him like right next to me or maybe even like in the room over, it put him back in the basement of the mission. So not quite the start, but pretty close to it. He also got caught running back through the mansion by the Bagman, so I had to go and help him. And just like at the start of the mission, his player character model had changed again. I asked him if he could remember, like, if my player character model changed, because that would mean it's not server side, but client side, the models that you see, but he couldn't remember. So this flavor text, it specifically says, do not look back when you leave. So we both get to the gate, we unlock it, and Tim, being the ever daring one, did what the flavor text said not to do. He looked back. Nothing happened. I don't know, man. So you're probably like, Reynold, why did you pick this up? According to that one developer you mentioned, this is the Comic Sans of character models. Why did you play this? Well, there is something that struck me about the game, and that was the store page. Like, the reason why I decided to download and try it. This is what the store page says. Out of the Shadows is a chilling experience designed for 2 to 4 players, where communication and mutual support are your only lifelines. You'll often be separated, sometimes trapped, and always reliant on each other to make progress. Playing solo, the world automatically adapts, offering a different but equally intense experience, tailored for one. That sounded pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. That's what hooked me. Honestly, I didn't know if I'd be able to get Tim to play with me, so I figured, why not? If it can be played solo or with a friend, either works. Another excerpt from the Steam page said, solve dynamic cooperative and puzzles, count objects, decode strange symbols, manipulate light, or even use your voice. Some puzzles require you to split up, others demand flawless teamwork. So like, I missed the grammatical error when I first read that. I feel less confident about me thinking if this is an asset flip or not. I don't believe it is, but that makes me a little nervous. Now, all of that is to say, I wanted to see if the puzzles were actually dynamic, so Tim and I loaded back into the map and see what had changed. We played through the first bit, found the code to get past the first section, and everything was the same. Even the key was there. It was all still the same. After that, we abandoned it once we got to the kitchen. Now, just to be sure, okay, I loaded up a solo game the next day, and I found that the only thing that had changed was the position of a key at the very start, and it had only changed slightly. The door codes were the same, the puzzle solutions were the same, everything else was the same. I did a quick speed run because of it. Like, if I were to give this the same charitability as Ferocious, I'd say that Out of the Shadows is still in active development, and there's a good chance that all of these issues do get figured out. After all, this isn't the first game that Lobster Games has developed. Their first one is like a party game that seems to be mini games only for up to 8 people to play. It even has a positive rating on Steam with 18 reviews. So there's a chance that this all gets patched up, that the puzzles do become dynamic and don't have the same solutions each time. I have hope. Like, small hope, a hope, honestly. If I were to get into my constructive criticisms, I'd start by saying the player characters could probably have their walking speed bumped up a tiny bit, at least. Right now, it's way too slow to just traverse a map, and with the lack of movement options like jumping, I feel like it could really use the speed increase. When doing a lobby, everyone should have to ready up and not just the host, especially if this game does decide to go with the Phasmophobia model, where you end up buying equipment between rounds to take with you. Oh, so one thing I didn't touch on at all is that VoIP is built into the game, and one of the cool features is you can choose your mic from the settings. Any game that has VoIP that lets you do that is like well above the rest, in my opinion. Thank you for letting me choose that. However, the audio is still a bit janky. Walking more than a few feet away is really hard to hear your friend talking. A good example is when I was in the garden with Tim. I had direct line of sight with him, and then when I took 2 steps to the right, which did put me behind a wall, I couldn't hear him at all anymore. Like, I get it. Audio is hard. Trust me, I'm a Tarkov survivor, so I understand programming audio is weird. The muffling of the voices was a bit too strict in Out of the Shadows though, especially when you have to talk to your friends through closed doors to try and figure out some puzzles. It does look like they plan to add more maps and various enemies, but my biggest suggestion is going to be make sure the dynamic puzzles work first. If that's supposed to be the selling point of your game, make sure your claims of the game automatically adjusting to the player count is true, instead of just making a puzzle that anyone can solve no matter how many people are there. Seriously, your main selling point should be the thing you nail down first before you start worrying about other maps and enemies. It's going to make it much easier for you in the development of the game. I think it's just alright. It's not quite at the level of quality and multiplayer chaos as Phasmophobia, Repo, Lethal Company, those sorts of games. Each of those does something just slightly different that makes it unique from the rest of the games in like this get scared with friends sort of playing field. Maybe with a bit more work, we'll be talking about Out of the Shadows in the same sentence with those games and talking about how crazy it is that all of their puzzles always change. Who knows? Right now it's just a fun distraction during the Steam Next Fest, at least for one day. That is going to be it for me though, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the second day of the Steam Next Fest. I'll be back tomorrow with another game to talk about. If you're watching as this video released, I'm actually live right now, both on Twitch and YouTube. Go ahead and stop by. We're going to be playing, I think, the Baby Steps demo. So come on by. I really need to figure out like an outro for these, don't I? Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.